Everyone in this room has a working definition of integrity. But let's take a look at the dictionary meanings. Integrity, a noun, comes from the Latin root word integer, meaning whole. So there's three variances of definition. Number one, I think, is what most people are familiar with. Adherence to moral and ethical principles. Soundness of moral character. Honesty. 2, state of being whole, entire or undiminished. That is, to preserve the integrity of the empire before the empire strikes back. 3, a sound as in a condition, unimpaired or perfect condition, the integrity of a ship's hull. You know, it's sound, it's complete, it's whole. Now, there's a very nice example, a quote that I can give you for the first definition, and that's from one of the greatest philosophers of our time, Oprah. Real integrity is doing the right thing, knowing that nobody's going to know whether you did it or not. I like that. Now, I'm sure you would expect a spiritual discussion, a talk, to really focus on the first definition. But if you know me at all, you know that's not how I'm going to go. I want to look at the second and third definition. Let's focus on the original meaning of integrity. And that's the state of being whole, undiminished, as in a sound or perfect condition. Today's outline was submitted by the Mothership by Reverend Trish Hall, the spiritual leader at the CSL in Washington, D.C. metro area. I thought that was great because Washington, D.C. is the center of our national integrity, right? So the point of view of our teaching aligns completely with the dictionary definition of integrity. It's the state of being whole and undivided. We should understand that on both the universal and the individual level. Since God, Spirit, is equally present in and as all of its creation, each individual is an expression of the integrity that's demonstrated through practices such as honesty, compassion, forthrightness, generosity, and strength of character. Those are demonstrations of integrity. Now, we all know that we are imbued with volition. Volition meaning free choice, from which we can, on occasion, use that volition to opt out of our integrity. When we make choices that don't serve either our best interests or any of the other people who are impacted by our choices. In Science of Mind, Dr. Holmes has an article, Man's Relationship to the Spiritual Universe. The difficulty is solved when we realize that all creation is an effect. It is real enough, as real as it is supposed to be. As you look about you, the mountain is a mountain. The molehill is a molehill. The dust storm is a dust storm. But they are all effects. Effects, not affects. Effects. As you enter your garden and observe the bamboo tree that you planted for your tranquility, or a grapefruit, or any other variation of form, of body, you see each one is rooted in the same creative soil. And each is individualizing out of that creative soil that which is unique to it. The type of effect maintains its integrity, always. Now there's the term congruency, the arrangement of all of the parts of a whole in such a way that all the parts are supported and strengthened. Congruency is the demonstration of our integrity. In the individual, it's the alignment of our inner and outer lives. We're naturally drawn to it because it's essential to our overall well-being. It's the embrace and embodiment of wholeness in order to feel our completeness. That's how we embody our integrity. Now, also in Science of Mind, Dr. Holmes says, we observe in creation an atomic intelligence, a simple consciousness, after which comes a personal consciousness, then a cosmic consciousness. As we watch the transition from the atomic to the simple intelligence, from the simple to the personal, from the personal to the cosmic, we find that we're merely going up a scale of unity. Everything is still unified. The spirit is not something apart from so-called matter, but is something working through matter. The potential possibility of what we call the highest and the lowest is inherent in everything. They're not different things. They are the same thing functioning at different levels. That's the end quote. That's a long quote, but he has a little bit of quantum physics in there. It's pretty impressive for being written in the 1930s. In another location, he goes on sort of the same topic. What we are looking for, we are looking with and looking at. Heaven is lost merely for the lack of a perception of harmony. Hell is the phantom abode of our morbid imaginations. Heaven and hell are states of consciousness. Heaven and hell are states of consciousness. Now that's a beautiful explanation about how the integrity of the uniqueness of expression is forever sustained, yet never demonstrates the integrity of the whole. It demonstrates its own integrity. It's how the perspective of the observer alters the observer's perception. That's redundant. The perspective of the observer alters the perception of the observer. That's a closed loop. But that's physics. We know there are infinite possibilities, infinite potentials. And when there's an observer, those collapse to one, to something. That's science. Trust me. Don't ask me to quote that source, though. The awareness opens us up to how to change our experience by shifting our consciousness. Now I've got 3 more quotes from Dr. Holmes, and this is the Ernest Holmes Papers, a collection of 3 inspirational classics, Ideas of Power. I haven't seen that book, but these are the quotes from the mothership. So, Dr. Holmes tells us, get still, get quiet, still the turmoil of the outer sense. Be still and know you are the one you have been looking for. You are the one you have been looking for. You are going to have to do it before you can make a good treatment, because we either affirm or deny something. We either believe in our word or else we don't. Who can make us believe in our own word? Nobody but ourselves. So you are who you've been looking for. That's the end quote. But, this is another quote, if there is an integrity within me, shall I not have the patience and courage and fortitude at long last to look up into the face of the eternal life in which I live and say, God, I thank you that I gave birth to every trouble I ever had, in every sadness, in every fear. So if you can say that honestly, with conviction, belief, you have just changed your consciousness. Knowing the universe always says, yes. Yes. Oh, I'm so horrified. Yes. I'm so blessed. Yes. I am the greatest Stevie that's ever been. Yes. We get to create our experiences. Those we desire and intentionally create, and the others. The integrity of the universe is never altered by how we use it. We can't change the integrity, the wholeness of the universe. So finally, here's the third quote from the Ernest Holmes paper. Now life exists. Nothing is more certain. Life is intelligent. It responds to us. We happen to believe it's a spiritual presence everywhere, equally distributed, and within us and around us and everywhere else is life. Call it God, call it anything you want to. There is something present within us out of whose essence all things are made, within whose creative imagination all things are formed, and by whose inexorable and immutable laws of all things are held in place. This is self-evident. Here we are, and we couldn't be here if these things were not true. End quote. So we are integral to the whole, the pieces that compose the universe. Now remember, integer is the root word of integrity. And we are integral to the whole. We're always in flux, ever evolving, adjusting, readjusting, yet we are never diminished. Never. We maintain our own integrity. Emerson describes this as to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Now, here Emerson's acknowledging that remaining in your integrity, remaining in your original state, despite the whole world trying to make you into something else, is the greatest accomplishment. Can we take that a step further and acknowledge that either remembering or discovering our integrity, our wholeness, our interconnectedness, our perfect state is the whole point of being here? Isn't that why we're here? Now, they have a book of the month this month, The Inward Journey, The Quest for God, by Howard Thurman. And here's a quote from that book. The clue to the answer is in the awakening within us of the sense of living our lives consciously in God's presence, The habit of exposing the life, the motives, the dreams, the desires, the sins, all to make God for the integrity of the person. Out of that flows the integrity of the act. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts. And he goes on and says, this is where he hooked me, I am impressed by the stories which have come to us concerning the life of the American Indian. The Great Spirit brooded over all of life, in general and particular. One dare not pretend to the Great Spirit. That makes good sense. So let's not pretend one thing to the Great Spirit while we live something else, something less authentic. We must continually ask ourselves, what is stopping me from living authentically, in integrity, within the truth of my being? To answer that, we have to listen to that still, small voice within. We have to go deep and perhaps courageously make some changes, realign. Our personal integrity is always waiting for us to express it. The integrity of our actions springs out of our personal integrity. Here's a quote from Frederick Douglass. I prefer to be true to myself, even at the hazard of incurring the ridicule of others, rather than to be false and to incur my own abhorrence. And Frederick Douglass lived a life that had many, many challenges. He was told, you can't learn to read, you can't learn to write. He became a great author, great speaker, great orator, great man. He lived in his integrity. Otherwise, none of that would have been possible. In our New Thought vernacular, we say, there's no spot where God is not. God is equally present everywhere. We are called to grow ourselves large enough to embrace it all. God is the integral being of all. However, Dr. Holmes had a little caution for us that there are a few statements farther from the truth than to spout, God is good and everything is all right. Therefore, there's nothing to fear. God is not just the parts of life we like. God is always there. There is no other that's responsible for what humans deem not good. It is all one. God is integrity. But since Thurman, in his quote, introduced the concept of native wisdom regarding integrity, let me go back to that. There is a Native American wisdom, and it's anonymous. Wisdom comes when you start living the life that the Creator intended for you. How many of us are living that life? This anonymous Native American philosopher knew that. Only when we've recognized our integrity, our perfect state, only then can we truly live the life that Spirit intended for us. And we know Spirit has much higher intentions for us than we do. So let me share another native philosopher's wisdom. This is a slightly longer quote. Do not allow others to make your path for you. It is your road and yours alone. Others may walk it with you, but no one can walk it for you. Accept yourself in your actions. Own your thoughts. Speak up when wrong and apologize. Know your path at all times. To do this, you must know yourself inside and out. Accept your gifts as well as your shortcomings, and grow each day with honesty, integrity, compassion, faith, and brotherhood. I have made myself what I am. And that was from Tecumseh, Shawnee chief and orator. And if you're not familiar with the Shawnee tribe, it was part of the Iroquois Confederation. They also developed a written language, I believe. But anyway, we know that we magnetically attract what we radiate. It's this principle that like attracts like, and so it's up to us to model how we want to experience life. If we want to experience life to its fullest, we must live in our integrity. That's when ease is perfectly balanced with exactitude, softness, and strength, giving and receiving, passion and compassion. All facets of the whole are experienced by all of its parts as an integrated, unimpaired organism. Now, in discussing integrity, I was reminded of Plato's recollection of Socrates' discussion about virtue. It's a synonym of integrity. In the great dialogues titled Meno, Socrates was asked if virtue can be taught, or it comes by practice, or do people get it some other way, like from nature? In typical Socratic fashion, he dives into that and he presents arguments and faiths for and it must. But when he finally closes in on his point, he says, virtue comes to us whenever it comes by divine dispensation, that we shall only know the truth about this clearly when, before inquiring what every virtue comes to mankind, we first try to search out what virtue is in itself. Socrates took 47 pages to make that point. I'll try to narrow it down on him. Everything that we are comes from divine dispensation. It comes from within. And we have to remember who and what we are, and that our true identity is divine. And of the divine, virtue, integrity are just one principle. So, what does staying in your integrity mean to you? Maybe it shifted a little, maybe not. It's not just living with moral and ethical principle. It's the state of being whole, complete, undiminished in any way. That is what Spirit intended for us. It's how Spirit creates us. Life is a constant state of dynamic integrity, ever evolving, constantly adjusting, reestablishing equilibrium. The perfect demonstration of love and law. We've been gifted life, and it is ours to use within the integrity of the whole. So, I encourage you to find your integrity, experience your wholeness, enjoy it, run with it, allow it to flow, because that is who you are. Namaste.
Namaste.